We've got the refresh Volvo XC60.
Updated engine, updated head unit. Let's go for a drive.
Here we go.
New power plants for the Volvo XC60. Andrea, what's under the hood of this?
A new B6 powertrain with a 2-liter turbocharged, supercharged 4-cylinder engine and a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It's matched to an 8-speed automatic transmission, 295 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, standard all-wheel drive. In the US, the B6 powertrain is not available on the base model.
So the base B5 engine is a 2-liter turbocharged engine, unlike the B6, which is turbo and supercharged. It has a 48-volt mild hybrid system with an 8-speed automatic transmission, 247 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive in Canada. In the US, you have front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options with this engine.
In Canada, you can add the B6 powertrain to the base model for $3,500 Canadian. In the US, it's a little bit different. All trims come with the B5 front-wheel drive. If you want all-wheel drive, you've got to pay $2,300 US extra. If you want the B6 all-wheel drive, it is not available on the base trim, but it is available on the Inscription and R-Design trims for an extra $6,300 US. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's spendy.
So when we get into pricing later on, you're going to see a difference between Canadian and US pricing, but always remember with that US pricing, if you want that B6 engine or even the B5 all-wheel drive, you've got to add on to that pricing.
So you're probably wondering, how are these different from last year's models? We're going to touch on that in just a second. Right now, we're going to get into the key standard features.
The base trim comes with a 9-inch touchscreen, a 12-inch digital driver display, a wireless charger, heated leatherette or cloth front seats, power driver and passenger seats, driver's seat memory, a panoramic sunroof, hands-free power tailgate, the B5 powertrain, and 18-inch wheels. Volvo offers plenty of advanced safety features and driver aids, but for 2022, they're on a new sensor platform for improved functionality. The system will be a feature in all upcoming models.
We've still got the Swarovski crystal shifter.
Yeah.
What can we put it in, Andrea?
You got to put it in S for subscribe. And if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure you subscribe, you hit the bell, but also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea for a look behind the scenes. And for me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below. So before, the engines used to be called T5 and T6,
yeah,
the same basic engine. So you had the turbo 4-cylinder, and then you had the turbo and supercharged 4-cylinder.
Yes.
So what they've basically done is they've added a mild hybrid system and changed the name.
And they do offer less power, believe it or not, than the T5 and T6.
So this is all done for fuel efficiency. Actually, we have a good question about this coming up in Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Yeah.
But let's get into the way this drives. And the one that we're driving, by the way, has air suspension.
Yeah, it's got active chassis and air suspension, and it's going to cost you extra, just over $2,300 Canadian.
Other vehicles that you could get air suspension would be the Porsche Macan and maybe the Jeep Grand Cherokee.
I really like the drive of this. It is smooth and comfortable, nimble. The steering is quite light. Now you can firm it up if you go into the touch screen, and you can firm up the suspension. What you are missing for the 2022 model are drive modes.
The way it worked before, you went into the screen and there was a menu and it had all of the different drive modes. It was so easy. Now you have to dig for it.
Well, we'll get into more of that when we touch on the infotainment system, but I went looking for the drive modes because I do like a more engaging drive. And of course, on the home screen, there is something that says car status. I figured that's where it would be. I went in there, it's not there. Eventually I found it. There's a settings button on the right of the screen, and you go in and it says driving, and then you click on that and I see off-road. So I click on off-road thinking all of these drive modes would come up. Nothing. Do you know why? There are no drive modes for 2022 because of this upgraded Google infotainment system.
You can, however, when you dig a little deeper, which is not easy, why they can't just have a hotkey to get into it, you can do what we just mentioned. You can firm up the air suspension and you can make the steering a little bit heavier. Nothing really changes the dynamics of the engine throttle response transmission, which is what you used to get in drive modes. So this, in my opinion, is a step back.
Me too. That is a miss for Volvo for 2022. If you've got the 2021 model,
keep
it. You've got some good drive modes in there.
Now on the outside, you'd be hard pressed to see any changes. Slight tweak to the grille and the front bumper, but that's good because Volvo has a design philosophy that is actually being copied by many other brands. It's a good looking unit.
Yeah, and the back, they also tweaked it a bit, but you know what you'll notice for this model? Where are the tailpipes? They've hidden them.
Oh, you know what they're doing?
Bumper.
They're greenwashing. They're greenwashing this.
Are they fooling you?
Is it a plug-in? Is it electric? No, it's gas. It's got a gas engine in there.
Now there's 3 trims to choose from: the Momentum, Inscription, and R-Design. And how it works with the base model is you get 18-inch wheels, and the trim is kind of a bright aluminum. The Inscription model that we're test driving has 20-inch wheels and chrome trim, and the R-Design, you get 19-inch wheels and black trim.
I'm kind of torn on this. I like the R-Design. They do a good job with that, but I'm liking chrome on this one. It works with this car.
I really like it too.
Now the same thing on the inside. Volvo didn't screw with it because it works. They have a beautiful interior. It all centers around the head unit, which has been updated, running on Android, but the rest of the interior looks fantastic.
Yeah, they always do such a beautiful job. In this class, sometimes we see some hard plastic being used. We see it in BMW, we see it in Audi.
Oh, Andrea, the bottom of the door cards is even soft.
I know.
I mean, you don't see that other than Porsche.
There is very little hard plastic used in here, and guess what? The heated steering wheel is heated all the way through. You do have to go into the touch screen. There's a tab at the bottom to put your heated seats on and your heated steering wheel, but guess what? When I enter the vehicle, after I've shut it off, it is on and set for me, which I think is great.
Kudos to Volvo. They're a northern country in Sweden, and they invented the heated seat. Thank you, Volvo. All right, Andrea, you always pick the best value trim. Is there value with the XC60?
There is some value here. I would get the base model. I would add the climate package for $1,000, $750 US, and that gets me the heated steering wheel and the heated rear seats. I would also add the B6 engine in Canada for $3,500. Unfortunately, that's not available in the US on that base trim. So I guess I would just stick with the B5 all-wheel drive. And if I really wanted that B6, I would just add the $4,000 US to it. That's going to bring me to just over $55,000 Canadian and just under $47,000 US with that B5 all-wheel drive engine.
But at that price, you're not getting leather seats, you're getting faux leather seats, or you're getting the new weave cloth seats, which I would choose. I like cloth seats. There you go.
If you're looking for Napa leather, you can get that on the Inscription and R-Design trims along with ventilated front seats.
Now, speaking of seats, here's me getting into the back seat. It's comfortable. Volvo does fantastic seats. How does it compare for space?
Wow, this is big for this category. The only one that can compete with it is the Acura RDX with 38 inches of legroom.
Now the back, the cargo area, they give you quite a bit of room with legroom up front, but the cargo area for carry-on and a cooler, of course it fits the cooler and the carry-on, but it's not the biggest, right?
No, it's not the biggest in this class. That is where it's lacking in this XC60, but overall cargo capacity, it's the winner.
You know what they do in Sweden? They put one of those Thule roof racks on top and they go cross-country skiing. That's how they get the extra cargo space. All right, some good questions here. Let's get into it.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
That's the fuel economy for the hybrids. That's no better than the gas engines. Seems like a lot of effort for zero payoff. Am I missing something?
Well, yeah, it's basically just enhanced start-stop is what they use the 48-volt hybrid system for. And you're right, the numbers are not great.
Here are the numbers. The difference between the T5 all-wheel drive and B5 all-wheel drive is very little. The T5 gets 11.1 liters per 100 kilometers in the city compared to the B5 all-wheel drive at 10.5. And then, of course, on the highway, the T5 all-wheel drive gets 8.3 and the B5 all-wheel drive 8.1.
So basically you're using a ½ liter less fuel, that's it.
I think that people got the impression that this was going to be a big hybrid powertrain. It's not. It's a 48 volt mild hybrid system, something like the X3 got the same sort of system, but for BMW, of course, and it does not change the fuel economy much. But I guess it looks good that you say it's a 48 volt mild hybrid system.
Let's just back this up a couple of years. They said at Volvo, we're going to have all of our vehicles electrified within a couple of years. And it caused a huge sensation in the media. We actually had a chance to talk to the head of PR from Volvo Canada at one of the auto shows when they used to have those. And he said, oh, we couldn't believe what happened. It blew up. And he said, people didn't realize when they said electrified, they meant like this. The mild 48 volt hybrid system. You know, Audi's doing the same, BMW's doing the same, but they didn't get the credit for it.
No, I absolutely love Volvo. Do you feel the horsepower in this car is adequate, or is it worth it to spend the extra money and get the T8 model? I like this B6 engine a lot. Look at Zach. Oh yeah, get the T8. No,
I'm the opposite.
Sufficient.
I'm saying get this one.
Oh, I thought you were saying get the T8.
No, I'm not a big fan of the T8. I mean, you get 400 horsepower. You get this plug-in hybrid with no range. You pay a fortune to get it. This turbo and supercharged engine that they've been using for years is fantastic. Now you get slightly better fuel economy. This is the one I'd buy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got great horsepower and torque. I'm really happy with this. We put out a lot of content each week on the Motormouth YouTube channel, and it's so easy to find.
All you do is you go to the YouTube search bar and you type in the name of the channel, Motormouth, then the brand you're looking for. In this case, it's Volvo, and all the vehicles we've reviewed or comparisons will show up. It's that easy.
We were seriously considering the recharge version, but the reviews of the infotainment and the reliability score is making us hesitant big time, and now looking at others. Yeah, there is an issue with reliability. According to JD Power and Consumer Reports, both didn't give it a fantastic rating, and the 2022 dependability study by JD Power has put Volvo right at the bottom with Land Rover. In fact,
with Land Rover. That's like, you don't want to be associated with that.
And it's dipped from the 2021 dependability study.
This is one of the interesting things that happens in the auto industry. Perception versus reality.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to get on my high horse again and talk about brands that people think are crap that actually have very good quality scores, like Chevrolet, like Buick, like Cadillac,
like Hyundai, and like Kia.
And Mini actually does above average. And then you get brands where people think they're fantastic and they actually get below average, like Subaru and Mitsubishi and Volvo and a bunch of others. And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
Volvo interiors are fantastic, in my opinion, really underrated. They look and feel luxurious. The XC60 has been out for quite a while now, and it's aging very well. What does Volvo need to do with the next model to continue its success?
I don't think that Volvo needs to change things drastically to update this car.
Yeah.
They just need to modify it a little bit. They have fantastic design, as I mentioned earlier. They've been copied by a lot of other brands. If you look at the back of a Kia Telluride, it looks like a Volvo. On the inside, there are really no other cars in this category that have this kind of level of materials outside of maybe a Genesis. What I don't like is I don't like the screen vertical. I prefer it more horizontal just for my eye line, and it could make it bigger and they could get rid of this setup. But other than that, it all centers around that. That's the only thing I'd change.
Yeah, what I find with the infotainment screen now that it has been updated to the Google system, I love the Google Maps and I love Google Assistant. And the system, once you figure out where everything is, it's very easy to use. It's a simple system, but gosh, try and find where everything is and it'll drive you nuts.
One thing is, this car and all the new Volvos with the Android-based system have no AM radio.
No.
And you might be thinking, Zach, who listens to AM radio? Two of the top radio stations here in Vancouver are both AM. They're news talk stations.
Yeah.
And if you want to listen to sports talk, which I like to listen to, talking about the hockey game or the football game, there's no AM radio. You have to download an app, play it through iHeartRadio, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, AM, FM. This is like the 1970s we had that.
Yeah, and I think that the home screen maybe could have more tabs on it. It's just not intuitive to use when you first get in it, but I will repeat again, it is a very simple system once you know where everything is.
Guaranteed. You're going to buy this car, you're going to spend a week or two figuring out where everything is, setting it up. Once you've got it set up for your specific taste, it'll be really well done. And you have to go to iHeartRadio to listen to the sport.
When it comes to electrification, the XC60 only offers 51 kilometers, 32 miles of EV range, but it's priced at just under $70,000 Canadian and around $54,000 US. That is too much money for such small range. So I think Volvo needs to work more on EV range, even in their pure EV vehicles.
So this competes in the compact luxury space. What else can you buy?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Genesis GV70 2.5T with a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. It has a starting price of just under $50,000.
The Audi Q5 with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 261 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque on a starting price of $48,000.
The Lexus NX 350 with a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 275 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. It has a starting price of just under $55,500.
The BMW X3 with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It has a starting price of $53,000.
So there are 4 SUVs for you to consider.
All right, it's time for the fuel economy, the horsepower, the towing capacity.
Let's start with pricing. The base Momentum trim is just under $51,000 in Canada and just under $44,000 in the US. The Inscription trim that we're test driving is just under $62,500 in Canada and just over $51,000 in the US. The R-Design trim is just over $60,500 in Canada and just under $50,000 in the US.
Here's the fuel economy for the base B5 engine with all-wheel drive. 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 8.1 on the highway. That's 22 miles per gallon city, 28 miles per gallon highway. With the B6 engine and all-wheel drive, it's 11 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 8.7 on the highway. That's 21 miles per gallon city, 27 miles per gallon highway. The XC60 can tow 3,500 pounds and comes with a warranty of 4 years, 80,000 kilometers, or 50,000 miles. Lightning round. 2 things we like, 2 things we like to see improve.
I really like this new B6 powertrain.
And I like the look.
What I'd love to see are some drive modes in this thing.
And I'd like some amplitude modulation, otherwise known as AM.
Smooth, comfortable, and quiet. Everything I would expect from a Volvo.
Often overlooked in the premium space. It's worth a try. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below.